How you doing, fellas? It's Bear with Texas Bushcraft, and got a little bear here with me today. I'm going to do a quick review for you guys. I'll show you on what. We put a little bear down real quick. Alright, buddy, go play. Alright, so this is going to be a book review. It's on a book by a gentleman named Mark Suters. He's with Primitive Texas. He's been a member of the forum for a while. He doesn't have a lot of time to post a lot, but I'll show you the cover of the book. It's Edible Wild Plants of Texas, the non-woody species. I'm going to set this up on a tabletop review inside and go over that with you guys. So let me set this camera and I'll be right back with you. Alright, here we go, guys. There's the Edible Wild Plants of Texas, the non-woody species by Mark Suters. He's actually going to be putting out another version. It's going to be the woody species of Texas as well. But that's going to come later. So title page here. He signed it for me before he sent it out, and that. He goes into the dedication to his wife and all those that love and sport. I'll let you guys read that. Anyways, disclaimer saying that to make sure, pretty much every time you've seen anybody that does wild edibles, they put a disclaimer on their stuff saying you're doing this at your own risk pretty much. Make sure that you know what the plan is before you eat it. Consult with a local expert to make sure, stuff like that. And that he doesn't take any responsibility for you going out and not listening to that advice. So he does an introduction about himself here, tells you about his experience and that, and then goes into how to use the book. Explains that he uses the common names rather than scientific names. He puts the scientific names in here as well, but he prefers to use the common names, which is a good thing because most people don't know the scientific names anyway. The scientific names are generally really good for if you're going to go out and investigate more in depth as the plants are. Talks about conservation, explains about not harvesting all the plants in the area that you're harvesting from. Don't harvest rare or endangered plants. Make sure you leave enough for the plant species to propagate the next year. He talks about the diversity of wild edibles and plants in Texas. How Texas has pretty much every kind of microclimate you could think of in it, as well as every kind of terrain that we have here. So he goes from the Chihuahuan Desert to the big thicket forest and everything in between. And then he talks about pollution, how to avoid harvesting from areas that might be polluted. They smell funny. The dirt smells like chemicals or anything like that. He goes into it in there. And then starting right here, he's got the non-woody plants grouped by flower color. All the plants in here that he does are grouped by flower color, and you can see the flower color up in the top left or the top right-hand corner or left-hand corner of the page, depending on which side it's on or which side you're looking at. I believe it's the right-hand side on every page. That's where all the words are. So he goes yellow, white, and then I think it's red, blue, purple, and then it's brown and green flowers. So there's a photo of Mr. Sutter there in a marsh in Texas collecting cattails. And then going into the photos, I actually had several of my friends that are not bushcraft or would count themselves as bushcraft people. They like camping and whatnot, but not bushcraft oriented. Had them take a look at the book, see how they liked it, let me know what they thought about it, and showed them also on top of that a couple of my other wild edibles books that I have. So I got these two as well that I carry with me usually in my bag. But I let them look at those books and this one, and they all preferred Mr. Sutter's book over the other ones because the size of it. The images are all larger, they're much clearer, they're all in color, and the print is much larger than the other books are, so it's easier to read for those that have weaker eyes or need glasses to read. That makes it a little easier for them. So he goes in, the top of the page, he goes the common name of the plant, and then underneath it he puts the scientific name. Then the description of the plant itself, so he goes into what the leaves look like, the stems, flowers, any kind of fruit that they have on them. He goes over all that. Where to find them, and then he shows a range. And as you can see on this one, this common purslane, it grows everywhere in Texas. Some of the other ones on here, I'll see if I can find one real quick so you can see what I'm talking about here. Let's see, find one. There's one right here. The sun cactus only grows in the western side of Texas. or the western half of Texas. So you can see right there it shows the sun cactus, only on the drier side of Texas. You can see the compass plant only grows in northeast Texas here. But he goes into that, and then he goes into the uses. Some of them he talks about the medicinal uses of the plants, and others he does not show those. He just goes into the edible portion, which it makes sense because it's an edible wild plants book, not a medicinal wild plants books. And then he goes into the season and what part of the plant to harvest it during those seasons. And I'll try to find one in a minute to show you what I'm talking about as far as that goes. Here you go, right here. It's a good one. This is the prickly pear cactus. And it says, spring to early summer, young pads and flower buds, all year mature pads for moisture. What he's talking about there is for like a burn or a sunburn, something like that. You can use the pads, cut them in half cut them in half this way, so you can open them up and put them on compress-wise on a sunburn, and that kind of like you would with aloe. And then late spring, or late summer and spring, you can eat the fruits. So you can go through here and look through all these. Like I said, all of them have great images, great information on every one of these plants that's in this book. He goes really in depth for the carrot. So here's wild carrot right here. It shows all the leaves and the flower heads and everything like that, where it grows. And then right after that, he talks about the two deadliest plants, which are both carrot relatives. They're in the carrot family as well, and that's water hemlock and poison hemlock. And he shows photos of all those, explains the differences, how to tell the difference. Recommend not trying to do this if you're not proficient in identifying wild edibles. I tend to not want to have anything to do with wild carrot due to my lack of experience in wild edibles. So all the ones that are poisonous or have some sort of a poison factor to them or something that could be detrimental to you, he's got it marked on the page with a skull and crossbones to let you know. So in this case, the water hemlock and the poison hemlock are poisonous. If you get further back in here, like nightshade is definitely poisonous. It's not a good one to play with. See if you can find one real quick that has not poisonous, but is detrimental to you. There's a couple in here. I know there are because I've seen them. Here we go. The stinging nettles. It's not poisonous to you to eat. It's just the stinging hairs are not good for you. So he's warning you and making sure you understand that there's something you need to pay attention to on this plant that might do some damage to you if you don't take care or pay careful attention to what you're doing. So you can go through, look. I mean, you can see all the plants, everything like that. I've got 2 of them marked in here right now, due to small discrepancies that I found that I didn't understand quite, and that was, for instance, right here, the Texas mallow, also known as the Turk's cap. He talks about the fruit. The fruit are small, rounded, cheese block-like structures, and I don't see a photo on here that's very clearly pointing out a fruit on the plant. And I don't know what he means by cheese block-like structure. So in my mind, I always picture like a wheel of cheese or Swiss cheese, something with holes in it, and nothing looks like that in these pictures. So I didn't understand that one. And that's why I marked it. And then on top of that, the greenbrier is the other one that I didn't. He talks about the fruit, but he doesn't show a photo of it. Every other plant in here that I've looked through, if he talks about a fruit on the plant, he shows the fruit. If he talks about something that's detrimental to you or whatever, he has an image of it to show you. It's just those 2 that he didn't do it on. In the back here, in the very back, he's got a list of all the plants by common name. And you can see how many there are right there. It's probably, I'd say, 40, 50, something like that. I haven't counted, so I'm not positive on that one. But, I mean, you can see there's quite a few wild edible plants that he goes over in here. And then the very back page here is a definition page or explanation and example page of what he's talking about and all the things. I feel that this page should be in the front of the book. I don't know why he put it in the back, but I think it should be in the front of the book. Most people aren't going to look in the back of the book to see if they can get descriptions. They're going to look towards the front of the book where the index should be and see if they can find the answers to that. That's one of the other things I didn't like was the fact that there isn't an index per se in the book. It's just appendix. There's an index in there, but no appendix. And then the back of the book. As you want to see, I'll try to get this focused in here. The price point on it, he's got it down as $49.99, and a lot of the guys that have looked at the book or that I've talked to about it, they all have the same concern. Is it worth the $50? It's kind of a high, steep price for a book. I can tell you, I believe it's worth the $50. And the reason I say that is because you get these books, and they're very in-depth, okay? They don't, let's go for instance, this one is $30, and it's very in-depth. It has everything. Medicinal, other uses, wild plants, everything you could think of is in this book. But the downside is it's really thick, the print is small, and the photos are all drawn. They're not color photos. They're not even really, most of them aren't even really photos. They're just drawn images on there. And then he goes into some recipes and stuff in this book that really doesn't pertain to having a field, using it for a field guide, which a lot of people use it for, but it's not practical in the sense that it's too large. So I like this book for what it is. I like it using it for investigating further about the plants that I'm looking at or that I'm thinking about tasting or wanting to identify. It has great information for that stuff, but it's not really set up for being a pack book. This one is much thinner. I mean, you can see the size difference. And it's got color photos in it, but again, the print is very small. It's limited on... It's hard to read due to the fact that everything is grouped really close together. And there is some separation in it with bold lettering and stuff like that, but it's really, really hard to read through it really quickly and find the information you're wanting. So, and the images are really, really small, like I said. And some of them are black and white. Most of them are color. It's mostly color. But this is a national one. It goes across the entirety of the United States, or North America, I'm sorry. And it covers everything. So for me, it was an issue where it covered a lot of plants and I wanted to try them and find them, but then I look at them again and I realize they don't even grow in Texas. They grow in the Northeast, the Northwest, somewhere other than Texas. So I wouldn't be able to find them anyway. This book, however, is specifically for Texas. And he explains in here that it was done for Texas, but it will cover states that surround Texas and areas that surround Texas as well, like Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, stuff like that. Anything that's around Texas that would be the same type of climate and stuff will have plants very similar to this, but this is specifically written for Texas. So, I mean, it's definitely worth the $50. I'm going to have to test it out a little bit more as far as having it a pack book. I mean, you can see, I showed you this one a moment ago against the other one, but the size difference is even smaller. It's even thinner than that, but it's also much larger. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to fit this in my pack somewhere in the back of the pack in the main compartment, or even possibly in the bladder compartment where the water bladder would go. I'm a little sketchy on putting it in the bladder compartment due to the fact that if the bladder ruptures, it gets wet. This book is not going to hold up, I don't think. I mean, it'll stay together and everything, but it'll just be all wrinkly and it'll be a lot thicker than it should be. But the book is definitely worth it. It's a nice book. The print is great. Everything in it is really nice. All the plants are easily identifiable by the photos and the descriptions. And he gives the information that you need as far as what the book is for, wild edibles, not medicinal. So he's got, like I said earlier, he's got some information on some of the plants as far as medicinal properties goes, but mostly it's not that. Mostly it's about the edibility of the plants, or inedibility, and in the situations like water hemlock and some of the other ones that are marked, clearly marked, that you should pay very close attention to what's going on when you get them. But like I said, guys, the price point is one issue that a lot of guys that I've talked to already have. If it is, then you got to make that decision on your own for that one. But as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely worth the $50. I hope you guys get a chance to see this book in person. Mr. Sutter is actually going to be at the gathering this year, and he's going to bring as many copies as he can with him to sell. So if you guys want to get hands-on with it at the gathering, I'll have my copy there with me. He'll have some copies with him as well, so you to take a look at, and you guys can decide at that point in time if you want to. Other than that, the book is worth it. If you get a chance to get it, get it. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with the books that aren't really set up specifically for Texas, or have way more information than you really need for a pack book. So those books are great, but for my choice, I'm definitely going to put this in my pack and see how it goes. I'll have to get back to you on how I feel about it later on, after carrying it for a while in my pack in the bush, and let you know. Thanks for all the views, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you guys at the gathering, and I'll put links to the Facebook page, the forum, and that in the description below. And I'll put a link to Mr. Sutter's website where you can get this book as well. So keep up the good work, guys. Thanks for everything, and we'll see you later.